Exhibits with defense this morning, and we're entering these into evidence by stipulation of both parties.
Okay.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. And Ms. Stifler, if you could go over them.
Yes,
all right.
States 9G coming in as 213, Google deletion markers, secondary database. 9F coming in as 212, Google deletion markers, primary database. States I coming in as 215, Google deletion data by process data bar graph. And 9H coming in as 214, CDR mediations, Mario Fernandez Saldana with highlights.
Thank you. Are both sides ready?
Yes, Your Honor. May the state and I approach briefly just for scheduling?
Okay. All right, let's bring in the jury, Ms. Gordon. I don't know what that means.
I know, I can't see.
Somebody get a hold of AJ. I don't.
Your Honor, the jurors are entering the courtroom.
Thank you. Welcome back in. Everyone may be seated. Ms. Stifler of the state will call its next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Lindsey Butler.
Lindsey Butler, please. Will you please raise your right hand to be sworn in?
Ma'am, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, this way. Watch your step, please. There's an incline. Can you get rid of that cup, Ms. Gordon? You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Butler. Could you please introduce yourself to our jurors?
Good morning. My name is Lindsey Butler.
And Ms. Butler, what is your occupation?
I'm currently a physical security analyst for the North American Electric Reliability Corporation.
And who was your previous employer?
I was previously employed by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or the ATF.
And could you speak up just a little bit? You're a little soft-spoken. I want to make sure we can hear you okay.
Yes.
How many years were you with the ATF?
I was with the ATF for approximately 5 years.
And what was your position there?
I was an intelligence research specialist.
Can you describe for the jury what an intelligence research specialist does?
Sure. So we receive data, we interpret the data, we analyze the data, and we assist investigators who are investigating a variety of crimes, both state and federal.
Was your position with ATF a civilian position?
Yes, it was.
You're not sworn law enforcement.
Correct.
And can you give the jurors a brief outline of your educational background?
I have a bachelor's in criminal justice from Virginia Commonwealth University and a master's in criminal justice from the University of Cincinnati.
And can you describe for the jurors Today you'll be testifying about your analysis in this case involving cell phones, Google data, and toll records. Can you give the jurors an idea of the training and education you've had in those types of data, the analysis of that type of data?
Sure. So when I started with ATF, I attended a virtual IRS intelligence research specialist basic training program where we covered toll records in our software called PLX. I also attended an advanced IRS techniques course in August of 2021. I attended a PLX advanced course, which covered the analysis and review of toll records in December of 2021. In August of 2022, I attended a 4-week in-person academy, Intelligence Research Specialist Academy, and then I also attended the FBI's CAST cell phone analysis training in the summer of 2023.
You're trained in CAST, in PLX, and utilizing Cellbrite and other applications to review different types of data.
Yes.
I want to talk about your involvement in this case. Back in 2022, were you employed as, and I'm going to call it IRS for short, as an IRS with the ATF?
Yes, I was.
And were you assigned to the Jacksonville office in 2022?
Yes, I was.
How did you become involved in the homicide investigation into the murder of Jared Bridegan?
I was notified by an ATF special agent that the homicide had occurred, and I was asked to assist in the investigation.
Can you describe for the jury what your role as an IRS is in an investigation like a homicide?
Sure. So I would review various types of records, assist investigators with interpreting those records, provide investigative leads, things of that nature.
And in this case, you did some preliminary cell site and timing advanced mapping to assist the investigators.
Yes.
And then later coordinated with Agent Blythe with the FBI regarding that mapping and data.
Correct.
Do you participate in investigation to the extent of a sworn law enforcement officer, like going out in the field, interviewing witnesses, collecting evidence?
No, I do not interview witnesses or directly collect evidence.
And you don't write any reports about your work?
Correct.
You mentioned something called toll records, which is a big portion of what your testimony is going to be today. Can you tell the jury what toll records are?
Sure. So toll records are essentially kind of like the call log that you all have on your phones. It's records that we receive directly from the cell phone provider, and it provides information such as date, time, the number that the phone is communicating with, the duration, the direction, things of that nature.
And in this case, where you provided toll records for several different individuals to include Henry Tenon, Mario Fernandez Saldana, Shanna Gardner, John Biggerstaff, among others, but mainly the focus of what we're going to talk about here today.
Yes, I was.
Where you also provided Google data returns for Henry Tenon, Mario Fernandez, and John Biggerstaff in this case.
Yes, I was.
Let me pull up my PowerPoint for everyone. I'm starting with what's been marked and entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 214. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at here on your screen? And it's really hard to read. Don't worry, we'll explain what it is.
This is a Excel spreadsheet containing the toll records for the telephone number 904-566-2633 for the time frame January 1st, 2022 to August 23rd, 2022. Those dates and times were pulled in UTC time, so that's why there's a little bit of a difference when you get down into the data.
So this is a spreadsheet. You did some conversions for UTC time.
I did.
And are these the same records or substantially the same records other than you've included highlighting and a UTC conversion as the toll records from Mario Fernandez received through T-Mobile, which is State's Exhibit 179?
Yes.
And the jury's going to have both, but for ease of interpreting them, they've heard briefly what UTC is, but could you give them a refresher?
Sure. So UTC stands for Coordinated Universal Time, and it's the standard used to establish time zones across the world. So UTC is at UTC 0. In order to get to Eastern Standard Time in the winter months or Eastern Daylight Times in the summer months, you have to subtract hours from the UTC time. So when we need to get to Eastern Standard Time, we subtract 5 hours from the UTC time. When we need to get to Eastern Daylight Time, we subtract 4 hours from the UTC time.
So looking at State's Exhibit 214, as an example to the jury, the first entry for January 1st, 2022, column A is going to be the date of the transaction, meaning some kind of communication on your cell phone, cellular device with this phone number. And this time here, can you explain the difference between columns B and C and what you've done to make this easier to interpret?
Sure. So I took the date and time represented in columns A and B. I combined them together. Then I adjusted the date and time so it would reflect for January 1st Eastern Standard Time. So it's UTC minus 5 hours.
So later, if the jury's looking at these records and they want to know the correct date and time for Jacksonville, Florida, our time zone, would they look in column C?
Yes.
So for example, on transaction line 2, we see 1/1/2022, 1/30/06, and in column C, we see 12/31/21, 20/30/06. What is the adjusted time for the correct time zone?
We subtracted 5 hours.
And we ended up with 20/30/06, which is going to be 8:30 p.m.
Right, on December 31st.
And those are in military time, so hopefully someone knows how to subtract 12 in that jury room. Call type, what is column E going to show us?
The call type shows the type of communication represented in that row. So SMS would be an SMS message. There would be calls represented as well. MTC is a mobile terminating call, so that's a call that's coming into the device that we're looking at. MOC is a mobile originating call. That's a call that's going from the device that's we're looking at. And there's also RCS messages, which is rich content messages, which is kind of just more of a modern text service.
So when we look in the column E, we see MOC and MTC are going to be calls, incoming and outgoing. SMSC and that rich messaging, if I can find one. Here we go. RCS, IM chat. Are these just different ways to indicate a chat or text feature like you use when you're texting?
Yes.
And then there's also a column here, column D, for duration. For our calls, not text messages, there will be indicated in seconds the length of a phone connection.
Yes.
Column F, what is this going to indicate?
That indicates the direction of the voice call.
For voice calls, and sometimes we can get that on chats, but not text messages.
If you keep scrolling down to the RCS.
There we go.
Yes, so the RCS IM chats are all going to reflect as outgoing. It's just recording the existence of an RCS chat at that time.
And then G, column G is going to indicate what?
That's going to be the calling number, so the number who initiated the communication.
So for example, in transaction line 4, we see the calling number is 904-566-2633, which is attributed to Mr. Fernandez. So that means he is making the call. The call is originating from his phone number.
He is sending the SMS chat, SMS message.
Yes. And then here, a called number is at the receiving phone number for the SMS or the outgoing phone calls or the RCMS.
Yes.
For example, in this one, line 4, we see the called number at 708-4571. They will have a chart of phone numbers back there, but is that the phone number for Shanna Gardner?
Yes.
And you've done some highlighting here also for ease of interpreting these records relevant to this investigation. We have a cell color coding, so all the calls highlighted in green are going to involve an individual phone number attributed to a Shanna Gardner.
Yes.
The blue calls are going to be attributed to the phone number for John Biggerstaff.
Yes.
Yellow for Henry Tenon.
Yes.
Purple for Janie Deal, which we'll get to later in your testimony.
Yes.
And then here, we've got 3 phone numbers listed from Mr. Fernandez's toll records. a secondary phone number for Henry Tenon, a phone number for Kirsten Bridegan, and a phone number for Jared Bridegan, and there were no transactions in these records for those numbers.
Correct.
Okay, so I want to talk about some specific dates of interest within his toll records. Beginning with January 29th, 2022. And everyone's got to be a little bit patient with me trying to scroll through all these records. All right, so we have, beginning on transaction line 1402 through transaction line 1451, all the tolls attributed, well, actually, I'm going to do this the other way. We're going to look at the UTC conversion in column C. We've got 1453 as the last transaction on the 29th, and 1407 as the first transaction on the 29th.
Yes.
I'm interested, one, these yellow highlights, what does that indicate about who these transactions are occurring with on January 29th, 2022?
Those are communications with the phone number attributed to Henry Tenon.
And the adjusted time on these in column C is, these appear to be SMS. Would that be text messages?
Yes.
The adjusted time appears to be 13:13:02, 13:13:13, 13:15:13, and 13:15:26.
Yes.
We can see here that these messages, three of the messages originated from Mr. Fernandez's cell phone to Mr. Tenon's phone. One of the messages originated from Mr. Tenon's phone to Mr. Fernandez's phone.
Correct.
And what is the time in converted time from military to, or how we Americans like to say it? What are the times of these communications and transactions?
1:13 and 2 seconds p.m., 1:13 and 13 seconds p.m., 1:15 and 13 seconds p.m., and 1:15 and 26 seconds p.m.
And we see here that there is some activity initiated by this phone number, meaning presumably initiated by Mr. Fernandez to send text messages.
Correct.
I'm going to call that active usage by the phone holder or the phone subscriber. Between this 1:15:26 p.m. text message outgoing from Mr. Fernandez to Mr. Tenon, is there any other active cell phone usage on the part of Mr. Fernandez or whoever's holding his phone in the time frames between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m.?
No.
So there's no indication that this phone number, Mr. Fernandez's phone number, actively was utilizing cell phone towers to send messages or to make calls during this time frame.
Not based on these records, no.
And here we see at 15:43:16, 17:10:14, and 18:38:22 on lines 1444, 1445, and 1446. Incoming text messages from a 2300 number. Based on your knowledge of toll records, as best you can, what does this show?
Based on my understanding, this could mean a number of things. This could mean some sort of network routing that's being done through the device. It could mean a notification of some sort. It could be a short code received. There's a couple of different things that it could mean.
Does it indicate any active use or activity by the cell phone belonging to Mario Fernandez to somebody else?
Not based on my understanding, no.
And then the next contact after these texts with Mr. Tenon and these unknown notifications, we have a text message coming into Mr. Fernandez's phone at 18:41 on the 29th, which would be 6:41 p.m.
Yes.
And who is that text message from?
Ms. Gardner.
So on the 29th, just to recap, there is no active cellular usage by this phone number during the time frame between 2 p.m. Well, actually, the last active we have would be what? 1:15 p.m. And then the next outgoing text from Mr. Fernandez is going to be 6:55 p.m.
That's correct.
I want to move ahead to February 16th of 2022. And by the way, here, as I'm scrolling, did you notate every single transaction that you observed between Mario Fernandez and the phone numbers ending in 7612 belonging to Henry Tenon in yellow?
Yes, I did.
So as we scroll through, we'll see, and I'll get to that in a minute, but did you observe transaction and communication activity between Mario Fernandez and Henry Tenon in January, February, March, and April of 2022?
Yes, I did.
So we're moving ahead. We see some highlighted transactions on February 15th, 2022 between Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Tenon, beginning in lines 2, 3, 6, 4, and continuing on. And on that same date, we see highlighted in blue a number of transactions, and whose phone is indicated by the blue highlights.
That's the number attributed to John Biggerstaff.
So on February 15th, we have communications with Mr. Tenon and then communications with Mr. Biggerstaff.
Correct.
Moving to the 16th, I want to talk about a time frame. So beginning with our corrected from UTC to Eastern Standard Time in column C, the first transaction for 2/16/22 here on 2/4/19. And we'll go through this date. Can you give me the times of the communications here in blue on February 16th with Mr. Biggerstaff?
Sure. 3:43 p.m., 3:43 p.m., 3:46 p.m., 4:23 p.m., 4:23 p.m., 4:23 p.m., 4:23 p.m., 4:26 p.m., and 10:46 p.m.
Here we see an incoming call to Mr. Fernandez's phone on February 16th. What time did this call come in?
6:08 p.m.
And then we have an SMSC originating from that 2300 unknown notification. What time did that notification come in?
6:29 p.m.
And lastly, we see an incoming phone call. And what time did that come in?
7:09 p.m.
Ms. Butler, you had mapped data previously. Have you had the opportunity to review Agent Bobby Blythe's slides regarding timing advanced data mapping for Mr. Fernandez's phone on February 16th?
Yes.
And we have here on States Exhibit 182, slide 41. Have you seen this slide previously?
I have.
And it shows here a timing advanced transaction at 7:09:53 p.m. And does that generally correspond with the last cellular activity on his phone during this time frame here in line 2441?
Yes.
Is there any cellular transactions between 7:09 and actually I'll just ask you this. When is the next cellular transaction in the records after that 7:09 p.m. on February 16th?
10:46 p.m.
Are there any cellular activities between those two time frames in these records?
No.
And you've reviewed Agent Blythe's slide that also indicates there are no timing advance records for an overlapping portion of time to the toll records that you reviewed.
Correct.
I want to talk about I'm showing you a chart that you made for demonstrative purposes for today's testimony. Can you explain to me what we are seeing here in this chart?
This is a chart of the number of communications between the phone number attributed to Mr. Fernandez and the phone number attributed to Mr. Tenon between January 1st, 2022 to August 23rd, 2022, and this reflects the adjusted time zone from UTC.
And when you are including communications, what are you including in this tally as to the total amounts?
I'm including any record that was present in the toll records that were returned from the cell phone provider.
That include incoming calls, outgoing calls, and text messages or chats.
Yes.
We see here in January of 2022, there were 26 communications between Mr. Tenon and Mr. Fernandez, or at least those phone numbers associated with them.
Yes.
And in February, how many communications were there between the two of them?
37.
In March,
32.
in April,
21.
in May,
9.
in June,
5.
in July,
2.
in August.
0.
I'm showing you, as for demonstrative purposes, Mario Fernandez Saldana's communications with John Biggerstaff for the same time frame. And similar to the last one, did you include all incoming, outgoing calls, text messages, and chats?
Yes.
And here, how many communications between Mr. Fernandez's number and Mr. Biggerstaff's number were there in January of 2022?
27.
February,
70.
March,
0.
April,
42.
May,
55.
June,
84.
July,
91.
and August.
45.
And your toll records for Mr. Fernandez only go through August of 2022?
For this exhibit, yes.
I want to ask about one more date in these records. Actually, two more dates. As I'm scrolling, we're seeing there's a lot of transactions in green from Ms. Gardner. I want to ask about these transactions here for March 10th of 2022. Highlighted in yellow, beginning on line 4185 through lines 4192. These are transactions with Mr. Tenon, and can you go through them, just these few highlighted ones, line from line, and say what time they were and what type of communication, and from whom to whom?
Sure. The first one was all on March 10th at 3:16 p.m., a text message from Mr. Tenon to Mr. Fernandez. The second was at 3:17 p.m., a text message from Mr. Tenon to Mr. Fernandez. The third was at 3:28 p.m., a text message from Mr. Fernandez to Mr. Tenon. The next one was at 3:36 p.m., a voice call from Mr. Fernandez to Mr. Tenon. At 3:48 p.m., another voice call from Mr. Fernandez to Mr. Tenon. At 4:12 p.m., a text message from Mr. Fernandez to Mr. Tenon. And then finally at 4:36 p.m., an incoming voice call from Mr. Tenon to Mr. Fernandez.
And we see some of these calls include duration data. For this call on line 4188, how long was the duration of that call?
4 seconds.
And then here at this call on 4192, what was the duration of this call?
1,638 seconds.
About how long is that? How many minutes would that be?
I believe it's approximately 27 minutes.
And I ask about that date specifically because as part of your investigation, did you pull those records and provide them to detectives based on a specific date being of interest to you all?
Yes, I did.
And what was the date of interest to you when you looked at these records and pulled those March 10th phone calls?
Based on my understanding, on March 9th, the Jacksonville Beach Police Department released images of the suspect vehicle, the blue Ford F-150, to the media.
Do you know the total duration of minutes total from these records between Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Tenon for these transactions from January through July of 2022? How many minutes total did they speak over this 7-month time period?
It was over 10,000 seconds, approximately 176 minutes, which is approximately 3 hours.
And then here with Mr. Biggerstaff, on Mr. Fernandez's phone, the tolls indicate that they were in communication in January, February, and April of 2022.
Correct.
All right, I'm going to move on to Mr. Fernandez's Google return. And I'm going to, this is going to be State's Exhibit 185, did you receive a return from Google for Mr. Fernandez's Google account linked to his Gmail address?
Yes.
Can you describe for the jury what a Google return is? Is it like a cloud?
Sure. It's could be considered equivalent to the iCloud for Apple devices, but it contains a ton of records, quite frankly, for the Google account. So it'll have search history, YouTube history, sometimes it has location data, email content, messages, photos, just everything having to do with that account.
I want to talk about some exhibits that you thought were of interest that you pulled for investigation purposes in this case. Beginning with, when you receive a Google return, is this how it looks to you when you're viewing it through your Axiom program?
Yes.
And we see here evidence sources 2, and there is one return here and one return there. Can you explain to the jury what this screen indicates?
Sure. So the return on the left was the first return received, and it covered the time period from January 1st, 2022 to April 15th, 2022. The return on the right is the second Google return that was received, and that covers the time period from November 1st, 2021 to March 27th, 2023.
Do you remember when investigators, first of all, do you have to obtain these by a search warrant?
Yes.
Do you remember when these returns were returned from Google?
I don't know the exact date, but it would have been after the end date listed in the return.
Was there a time gap between law enforcement's receipt of the return number 1 to return number 2?
Yes.
I'm starting with the first return you received in States 185. When you were reviewing it, did you look in the contacts to see if Henry Tenon was a listed contact in Mr. Fernandez's Google Cloud?
I did.
And here we see, is this how you search? This is a screenshot. Is this how you search and find those contacts in that Axiom report?
Yes.
And there's a highlight there, and it says Henry at Potomac, and over here we see the artifact information. Whose phone number is that so that we can attribute it to whoever Henry at Potomac is?
That's Henry Tenon's phone number.
And he has him listed there as Henry at Potomac. Moving on to the return number 2, law enforcement received this return after the first one. Did you also review to see if Mr. Tenon was a contact in the second Google Cloud return for Mr. Fernandez?
I did.
And here is the contact list. Was Mr. Tenon a contact in Mr. Fernandez's Google return in the second return law enforcement received?
No, he was not.
I want to talk to you about some analysis you did of deletion data in Mr. Fernandez's Google account. Are you able to go into someone's Google return and see if they have deleted data from their Google account?
Yes.
Can you describe to the jury where you look and how you find that?
Sure. So within the Google return, there's a folder called My Activity that contains information about activity associated with the account for different Google products. So there'll be Chrome data in there, search data. There's also a folder titled Deletion Markers. And within that folder, there is a file that contains the records of the deletions process from the account.
Did you pull spreadsheet reports of the Google deletion data in Mario Fernandez's Google returns?
Yes.
I'm going to start by showing you what's been entered into evidence as States Exhibit 202. And this looks like Greek to me, but can you explain to us what this shows?
So this primary file, based on my understanding, contains information about bulk deletions of data or mass deletions of data. So this would be if a user requests the entirety of their search history to be deleted, the entirety of their YouTube history to be deleted. Google refers to them as corpus deletions.
And these specific exhibits, did you pull Google deletion for a specific time frame?
I reviewed all of the Google deletions that were available.
In coming to understand and learn how to interpret these records, have you personally yourself had training or conversations with members of Google in order to understand and interpret these records?
I did speak with members of Google's law enforcement team, yes.
I'm going to turn your attention to States Exhibit 213, which is the secondary database of Google deletion records. Can you explain to the jury what is contained in, based on your experience and your conversations with the Google law enforcement team, what's contained in this database?
So column A is going to be the date and time in UTC. That's what that Z means, that the deletion was processed from the account. The column B has the original event timestamp, so the date and time of the original record that's being deleted. And column C has the product associated with the deletion in that row.
And here in the secondary database, we see that there was a total of 11,511, well, 510 if we take out the top deletion markers. But I want to ask you about specific time frame. Did you look at deletion markers for a specific time frame in this case?
I mapped all of the deletions, and when I did that, it allowed me to focus in on a more specific time frame.
Was there a statistical, I won't say outlier, but something of statistical significance to you when you mapped the deletion of the Google records?
Yes.
And have you prepared a chart showing that deletion rate over time?
Yes.
And does that chart fairly and accurately show the data when it's mapped out in terms of the volume?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been entered into evidence as States Exhibit 215. This is a Google deletion data by processed date chart. And can you explain to the jury what we're seeing here?
Sure. So this is using the secondary database that we just viewed, or the secondary spreadsheet that we just viewed. And it is breaking down the number of processed deletions by date for the entire time period that we had records for.
And as a data analyst looking at this chart, what stood out to you as being of potentially evidentiary value?
March 1st of 2022.
And why did that date stand out to you?
Because there were over 5,000 processed deletions on that date.
And was the date, did you look at the time and date range of these deletions?
I did.
When they started and when they ended? And can you give the jury idea of when they began?
Sure. So for the March 1st date specifically, the deletions started early in the morning, approximately 06:11 hours. And I'm not sure exactly when they ended, but the bulk of the deletions on that day were at 06:11.
And during your work on this case, was there something significant in the investigation that occurred on March 1st of 2022?
Yes.
What was that?
That was the date that Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Gardner were interviewed by Jacksonville Beach Police for the first time.
And to your knowledge, Mr. Fernandez spoke to Jacksonville Beach Police on February 28th to arrange to come in on March 1st for his interview.
I believe that the contact was made through Ms. Gardner, who then contacted Mr. Fernandez.
And are these deletions prior to when he would have arrived at the Jacksonville Beach Police Department for his interview?
Yes.
Speaking of February 28th into March 1st, 2022, when you were reviewing Mr. Fernandez's Google return, did you also find internet searches that appeared to be of evidentiary value?
Yes.
Can you explain what those were?
Sure. So in the evening of February 28th, this would be at approximately 6:02 p.m., around that time there were multiple records that indicated that there were searches or viewing of maps associated with areas in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as well as North Carolina.
And did you also review and obtain evidence related to cell site data from Agent Blythe that Mr. Fernandez had driven to North Carolina and then Pennsylvania after his interview with police at the Jacksonville Beach Police Department beginning March 2nd?
Yes.
Did you do any investigation into the nature of that trip and look up any toll records or financial records related to his trip to North Carolina and Pittsburgh?
Yes, I did.
Can you describe for the jury what records you reviewed?
I reviewed toll records. I reviewed financial records that came back. I reviewed receipts that were obtained by the detectives, among other things.
And what stood out to you from your review of those records as being potentially of evidentiary value?
In North Carolina, it appeared that Mr. Fernandez visited a Walmart and purchased what could be described as toiletry items. And then as he continued his trip up north, there were multiple phone calls to hotels in the Pittsburgh area and ultimately a reservation that was made.
And how many nights did he make a reservation for at a hotel in Pittsburgh?
2 nights.
And how many, according to your review of toll records and the cell site records, how many nights did he actually stay?
1 night.
And let's talk about a little bit about the phone activity during this time frame. From March 2nd to March 6th. Particularly on that March 6th, that day that he came back, was he communicating with anybody of significance in the investigation?
He had multiple communications with Miss Gardner.
Was there anyone else's phone number that stood out to you as being potentially of interest to you in reviewing his toll records during that trip?
Mr. Fernandez communicated with Miss Gardner's father, Sterling Gardner, as well as Miss Gardner's sister.
And since the jury hasn't seen it yet, I'm going to show you the documents that you recovered as part of the investigation. Is this a receipt that members of Jacksonville Beach Police Department obtained for Mr. Fernandez at the Walmart you spoke about in North Carolina? Hold on. State's Exhibit 195.
Yes.
And you said that he purchased some, what you would consider to be toiletry items.
Yes.
Why were these records, the toll records, the financial transactions, the searches, and the cell site data, why was that significant to you?
It seemed that the trip might not have been planned very far in advance, and it also coincided with the CPT interviews that were being conducted of the 2 juvenile children in this case.
I want to talk to you next about the Google return you received for John Biggerstaff. And this is going to be contained in State's Exhibit 187. Did you receive a Google Cloud return for John Biggerstaff similar to the one you received for Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
And was that received via search warrant?
Yes.
So here on State's I'm going to publish to everyone. Here on State's Exhibit 187, we see a extraction report for a Google return, and this shows user accounts. Can you explain to the jury what user accounts are?
So these are accounts that are associated with the Google account that the search warrant was obtained for.
And we see here we have biggerstaffjohn904@gmail.com and a user ID for a Google account. Were you able to search through Mr. Biggerstaff's Google Cloud, including his web searches and web browser history?
Yes.
And in doing a web search, did you find some searches involving firearms and ammunition?
Yes.
Before we get to that, was the date of those searches significant to you based on cellular data that you had mapped and that later Agent Blythe had mapped?
Yes.
And what date are we talking about?
January 25th of 2022.
And what had the cellular data shown about January 25th, 2022?
It showed that Mr. Fernandez's device was in the area of Mr. Biggerstaff's residence from approximately 1500 to 1630 hours, so approximately 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m.
And when you were going through Mr. Biggerstaff's search history for that date, January 25th, 2022, what type of searches did you find?
I found searches for 10 millimeter, the search says 10 millimeter Glock pistol, and that was at 8:15 p.m. on January 25th.
And these are not converted out of UTC the way that Google has them here. So when it says UTC, does that mean the jury needs to subtract 4 hours?
Subtract 5 hours.
5 hours. So we're still in Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
Subtract 5 hours. So explain to the jury, is this how the data appears to you when you look at the Google records?
It is.
We have on our slide here 3 searches. The first one, Glock 20 Gen 4. Second is 10 millimeter Glock pistol, and third is 10 millimeter Glock pistol. And then the next slide, we see in the same time frame a Chrome search. And what does this indicate?
It's indicating that the account visited the website listed here, so guns.com, looking at Glock G20 Gen 4s.
And are you able on the return to actually see a screenshot of the page that was visited captured at the time that it was visited?
Yes.
And so moving through the slides we have here, is this what Mr. Biggerstaff would have visited at guns.com when he clicked on those Chrome searches?
I cannot say that this is exactly what he would have seen, but this is what pulls up when you click that link.
And we see a couple photographs of Glock G20 Gen 4 10mm pistols. What else did Mr. Biggerstaff search for? And can you give us a date and time of these searches?
Sure. So this one has the bottom two are the searches that we talked about on the last slide. The top one is a search on January 25th, 2022 at 8:17 p.m., for a 9mm Smith & Wesson pistol.
And then for the following slide?
These are searches for 10mm pistols.
And then on this slide, can you give us a date and time and what he was searching?
Sure. So this would be January 24th at 9:03 p.m. for pin on hidden gun case. The middle one says that he visited, or the account visited Willa Hyde, introduces all no hidden storage furniture line, and then additional searches at the top for pin on hidden gun case.
Okay, the last date I want to ask you about of being of some significance is August 18th, 2022. Was that a significant date in the investigation?
Yes.
And why was that a significant date?
That was the date that Henry Tenon was initially arrested for driving-related charges.
And starting August 18th on line 19722, this is at 7:57 a.m. That's the first contact that day. At the next line, 19723, can you tell us what time and date this call was?
That was August 18th at 8:33 a.m.
And was Mr. Tenon already in custody at that point?
Yes, he was.
And this is indicated in purple as an outgoing phone call from Mr. Fernandez to this phone number, duration 7 seconds. Whose phone number is this in purple?
That phone number has been attributed to Janie Deal.
And who is Janie Deal?
She is Henry Tenon's girlfriend.
Was this the first, last, and only phone call to Ms. Deal and Mr. Tenon's toll records for this time period from January 1st to August 23rd, 2022?
Yes, it was.
Last thing I'm going to show you is State's Exhibit 207. As part of your IRS duties, do you also do research on individuals, obtaining photographs, background information, associated addresses, that type of
Yes.
information? And did you find a photograph of Mr. Fernandez and Ms. Gardner that was taken after the death of Jared Bridegan?
Yes.
Is this the photograph here in States 207?
Yes.
Where did you obtain that photograph?
I obtained this photograph from a blog, soshelly.com.
And who is Shelley?
Shelly Gardner is Shanna Gardner's mother.
And do you remember approximately what date this photograph was posted?
Let me check my notes. I believe this was posted in March of 2022.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, members of the jury, you all wanted to take the break, correct? Is that right? Yes?
Correct.
Okay. Members of the jury, we're going to take our lunch recess at this time. We will return back in session at 1 p.m. Thank you. Court's in recess.